Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students, Part 1 of the workbook. I'm reading out of the complete and annotated edition. We are on Lesson 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. No one can give unless he has. In fact, giving is proof of having. We have made this point before. 381, text 29. Section 4, unless he gives, he will not know he has, for giving is the proof of having, in Workbook Lesson 159. To give is how to recognize you have received. It is the proof that what you have is yours. What seems to make it hard to credit is not this. No one can doubt that you must first possess what you would give. It is the second phase on which the world and true perception differ. Having had and given, then the world asserts that you have lost what you possessed. The truth maintains that giving will increase what you possess. How is this possible? For it is sure that if you give a finite thing away, your body's eyes will not perceive it yours. Yet we have learned that things but represent the thoughts which make them. 382, text 5:1, section 1. If you can accept the concept that the world is one of ideas, the whole belief in the false association which the ego has made between giving and losing is gone. And then 5:1, sentence 8, paragraph 8. Thoughts increase by being given away. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. Everything is an idea. How then is it possible that giving and losing can be meaningfully associated? And we do not lack for proof that when we give ideas away, we strengthen them in our minds. Perhaps the form in which the thought seems to appear is changed in giving. Yet it must return to him who gives. Nor can the form it takes be less acceptable. It must be more. 383. The logic here is this. Physical things represent ideas. A thing is an idea that has taken form. Thus, when you give a thing away, you are also giving away the idea it represents. And when you give an idea away, you strengthen it in your mind. Thus, when you give a physical thing away, you strengthen it in your mind. You strengthen in your mind the idea it represents. Since the idea is still with you, it will now take a new form. Perhaps a new physical thing will appear in your life, or a particular event will happen, or a new person will appear in your life, or the idea will come in some other form. And this new form will actually be more acceptable to you than was the thing you gave away, because it represents an idea that has grown in strength. Being stronger, the idea will now take a more useful form. Ideas must first belong to you before you give them. If you are to save the world, you first accept salvation for yourself. But you will not believe that this is done until you see the miracles it brings to everyone you look upon. Herein is the idea of giving clarified and given meaning. Now you can perceive that by your giving is your store increased. Protect all things you value by the act of giving them away, and you are sure that you will never lose them. What you thought you did not have is thereby proven yours. Yet value not its form, for this will change and grow unrecognizable in time, however much you try to keep it safe. No form endures. To value form is but to worship death. It is the thought behind the form of things that lives unchangeable. Give gladly, you can only gain thereby. The thought remains and grows in strength as it is reinforced by giving. Thoughts extend as they are shared, for they cannot be lost. There is no giver and receiver in the sense the world conceives of them. There is a giver who retains, another who will give as well, and both must gain in this exchange, for each will have the thought and form most helpful to him. What he seems to lose is always something he will value less than what will surely be returned to him. Never forget you give but to yourself. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. Nor can he fail to recognize the many forms that sacrifice may take. He laughs as well at pain and loss, at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and at death. He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all, and in his gentle laughter are they healed. Illusion recognized must disappear, except not, I'm going to repeat that because I didn't say it right. Illusion recognized must disappear, accept not suffering, and you remove the thought of suffering. Your blessing lies on everyone who suffers when you choose to see all suffering as what it is. The thought of sacrifice gives rise to all the forms that suffering appears to take. And sacrifice is an idea so mad that sanity dismisses it at once. Never believe that you can sacrifice. There is no place for sacrifice in what has any value. If the thought occurs, its very presence proves that error has arisen and correction must be made. Your blessing will correct it. Given first to you, it now is yours to give as well. No form of sacrifice and suffering can long endure before the face of one who has forgiven and has blessed himself. The lilies that your brother offers you are laid upon. The lilies that your brother offers you are laid upon your altar, with the ones you offer him beside them. Who could fear to look upon such lovely holiness? The great illusion of the fear of God diminishes to nothingness before the purity that you will look on here. Be not afraid to look. The blessedness you will behold will take away all thought of form and leave instead the perfect gift forever there, forever to increase, forever yours, forever given away. Now are we one in thought, for fear has gone, and here before the altar to God, one Father, one Creator, and one thought, we stand together as one Son of God, not separate from Him who is our source, not distant from one brother who is part of our one self, whose innocence has joined us all as one. We stand in blessedness and give as we received. The name of God is on our lips as we look within. We see the purity of heaven shine in our reflection of our Father's love. Now are we blessed, and now we bless the world. 384. This clarifies the idea for the day. How do we bless ourselves? We come in meditation before the holy altar within us, where are laid the lilies of forgiveness we have given our brother and he has given us. There we stand united with all our brothers and with our Father. There we find such purity in ourselves that we know we are truly blessed. This is how we bless ourselves, by coming to the altar within us. Having thus been blessed, we then take that blessing and give it to the world. What we have looked upon we would extend, for we would see it everywhere. We would behold it shining with the grace of God in everyone. We would not have it be withheld from anything we look upon. And to ensure this holy sight is ours, we offer it to everything we see. For where we see it, it will be returned to us in form of lilies we can lay upon our altar, making it a home for innocence itself. who dwells in us and offers us His holiness as ours. Now I will read the commentary from Robert Perry and Alan Watson, Lesson 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. The purpose of this lesson is to bless yourself by looking upon the purity in you and then to bless the world with that same purity. To give the world the lilies of forgiveness you find on the altar within you, and then to find those lilies returned to you, thereby dispelling your belief that giving is sacrifice. This is another meditation aimed at experiencing the purity within you, like Lessons 181 and 182. The lesson speaks of this using the imagery of a holy altar within you, and you may want to use this imagery in your meditation. And I'll do a separate meditation as well, if you'd like to join me. Quiet your mind and go to find that holy altar in you. You might imagine, as other lessons suggest, that you are traveling through a thick fog until it clears and you reach the altar. Be unafraid to look upon it. There on the altar you will see the lilies of forgiveness your brother has given you and you have given him. There before the altar you stand united with all your brothers. With them repeat the name of God, for this altar is the place in you that is perfectly devoted to your Father. How can you possibly fear him, when such purity abides in you? This is your true nature, which is so pure and so blessed that looking on it will leave you enraptured. You will forget about all earthly gifts as the gift of your holiness becomes the only thing that you really want. Remarks. This is how you bless yourself, by looking on this holy altar. Now that you have received blessing, you can give it. Now we are blessed, and now we bless the world. We spend the day taking the lilies of forgiveness from your inner altar and giving them to your brothers. The lesson expects that this will often take concrete form, giving of your time, your abilities, and even your material means. If you fear that this is sacrifice, you can afford to laugh at that thought, for whatever you give, you receive. Picture the outer gift you are giving as a lily of forgiveness and realize that this lily will then be laid on your altar as further testament to your purity. From there, this lily will manifest in your life in the form most helpful to you. Hourly remembrance, 1 or 2 minutes as the hour strikes. Do a short version of the morning-evening exercise. Close by asking for God's guidance for the coming hour and thanking Him for His gifts in the past hour. And use this lesson as a response to temptation. When tempted to believe you are making a sacrifice, repeat the idea, then take the blessing you have given within and give it to your brother. All thought of sacrifice will vanish in the face of receiving and giving of blessing. And this is the commentary by Alan Watson. Sorry, everything's falling down, so thank you for your patience. We find it easy to understand that in order to give a thing, you must first have it. That's obvious. We find it more difficult to believe that giving actually increases what you have. The key to understanding this, says the lesson, lies in the fact that things but represent the thoughts that make them. To understand how giving away what we have increases it, we have to begin to recognize that things are not real. What is real are the thoughts behind them. This is not necessarily saying that if I give $100 to a brother in need, I will immediately receive $200 in return from some other source. However, it is saying that when I give $100 away knowing that money is just an idea, I will be increasing the thought that brought money to me in the first place. Therefore, that will eventually result in more money or more wealth and abundance in some other form. The form may be identical or not. Perhaps the form in which the thought seems to appear is changed in giving, yet it must return to him who gives. Nor can the form it takes be less acceptable. It must be more. In other words, what is returned is always greater than what is given. I have begun to learn this by giving away ideas directly in my study group and in my writing. I have indeed found it true that as I give away these ideas, they increase in me. I get at least as much, if not more, benefit than anyone who is receiving from me. I am quite aware that I am blessing the world because I am blessing myself. I am doing this for my own benefit. It is harder when it comes to material things. It is not so easy to make the connection that money is just an idea, or a tape is just an idea, a book is just an idea, or a car is just an idea. I learn in little ways. I give away newsletters that cost me money, believing that it will return to me eventually. I give hours of my time to the study group, believing that the return will come. I still feel that as basically giving it away. The return has only just begun. I think when I learn this lesson fully, it will be no big deal to give up the idea of ownership entirely and to share everything I possess with anyone who needs it. But I am a long way from that as yet. The next paragraph is very important. Ideas must first belong to you before you give them. If you are to save the world, you first accept salvation for yourself. But you will not believe that this is done until you see the miracle it brings to everyone you look upon. Herein is the idea of giving clarified and given meaning. Now you can perceive that by your giving is your store increased. To give salvation, I must first accept it for myself, but to know I have it, I have to give it away. That must mean that I have to start giving before I know I have it. The gift that giving brings is knowing that I have the gift I give. The lesson advises us to protect what we have by giving it away. It warns, yet value not its form. In other words, you may not get it back in the exact form you give it. If I give $100 in cash, I may receive a gift in a different form, a tape player, computer software, a burst of physical energy, or whatever. If I give away a particular book, I may not ever receive that particular form again, and I have to learn not to value the form, but the thought behind the form. It is foolish to value forms, because no form endures. Remember, what the giver seems to lose is always something he will value less than what will surely be returned to him. Every gift I give is always a gift to myself. I never lose. I gain, and so does the recipient of my gift, especially if he or she learns from me to give again. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. Laugh because there is no such thing as sacrifice. What I give is given to myself. I never lose. I always gain. How can that be called a sacrifice? The lesson clearly applies this to all forms of giving and all forms of sacrifice, including pain and loss, sickness, grief, poverty, starvation, and death. When I give up a relationship in the form I thought I wanted, according to this lesson, I receive something I will value far more. Perhaps I may learn to accept the gift of self-sufficiency, for instance. I'm sure the same will be true as I make other sacrifices. Mistakenly, I fear the loss I will feel with these strange things absent from my life. There will be no loss, no sacrifice. What I gain will far exceed the apparent loss. And in reality, I lose nothing except a false identification. For instance, I think I get a certain satisfaction and comfort from eating a nice meal. The pleasure of the taste, the pleasure of being full, I falsely identify these feelings with the object, the food, but pleasure, satisfaction, and comfort are just the ideas behind the food. If I were to dissociate food from those ideas, I would not be giving up those ideas. I would be affirming them. I retain them and they grow. There will be pleasure, satisfaction, and comfort in other forms more lasting and more generalized. I have gained the general form by giving up the specific identification of those ideas with food. In general, we will go through many iterations of apparent giving up, apparent sacrifice, until we learn that the thing is not the idea, that no particular form can be identified with the idea behind it. We will learn eventually to hold on to no form, but to always value not the form, but the thought behind it. Ultimately, we go beyond the idea of many different thoughts to see only one thought, the innocent Son of God, the Christ. We see that thought within ourselves, and what we have looked upon we would extend, for we would see it everywhere. To ensure this holy sight is ours, we offer it to everything we see. Thank you so much for joining me. Lesson 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. Please join me for the meditation. Thank you. I love you.